Hello there! Welcome to another episode of Star Wars Minute. You know what it is. It's the daily show where we analyze, we scrutinize. What was the third one?
Prioritize?
Prioritize the Star Wars movies 1 minute at a time. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.fun.
And I'm Jordan D. White from the hallowed halls of Marveldom. I don't know. I made that up.
Well, thanks for returning, Jordan.
My pleasure.
We're here going to talk about minute 69 today.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Minute 69 starts with Han and Beckett staring at each other for a good 5 seconds after Beckett says it's the only way to live. And then it ends a minute later with L3 telling Kira that ships fly in there.
It's a relatively low dialogue minute.
Mm-hmm.
But some nice visuals, some nice Falcon flying as well.
Well, yeah, we get one line of dialogue that I am going to want to talk about, but we do get.
Of course.
Okay.
I don't know if we start with that. We start with talking about. Oh no, there's more than one. Look at that. There's a couple of lines of dialogue here.
Release
there's
order.
a few. It's just not, like I said, not a ton.
We
We just went from a very dialogue heavy minute to a dialogue light.
A moment in transition.
Right. The Maelstrom. First,
Are you talking about the Acades
Maelstrom?
Acades, there you go.
Acades
I love
Maelstrom.
that name. Acades Maelstrom sounds like a wizard in a long-running young adult novel series.
Yeah. Didn't he defeat Raistlin? But I looked up I ended up reading about the Maelstrom and the Kessel run and all this and how it works.
No, good.
Because of this, because I was like, we got the Maelstrom, we got the Maw, we got all this other stuff. Like, why is this?
And then there's Maw.
And then there's Maw. But apparently also this is something that they, so from the get-go, sitting down, they're like, all right, we're making a Han Solo movie. We got to have the Kessel run. Let's figure out how that works.
Mm-hmm.
And so early on, they're like, all right, let's just keep chewing on this and talking about it to figure out we're going to have the Kessel run. And so this is going back again, the John Kasdan, 50 Things I Hate About Solo. He doesn't hate anything about Solo.
I was going to say, that's not.
There must be something he hates about it.
But going back to even the first draft, the Maelstrom and the Kessel run and all that were in there because they wanted to have this, they kept kind of chewing on and hashing out the details of how it worked, but they're like, all right, well, this is something important that we're going to need to see. And he says, we wanted to have it make sense and be exciting. We discussed it endlessly. We knew that we were never going to satisfy everyone, especially not Neil deGrasse Tyson. But so we just decided to make it interesting looking. And he said, we wanted a Jules Verne flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's what I like to order at the gelato place. It's kind of dusty. It's weird. But I like that they thought about how to do it and they knew that they weren't going to please everyone, and so they just decided to go with what they thought would be fun and interesting for it. And then reading about the way that it works and seeing what we see here, I think they did a good job. My first choice would obviously be don't show that. But then if you're going to, I think this is as good as I could hope for it, I think.
I'll agree with that. Well, except I don't know if I'd have to think about whether my first choice would have been not to show it, but I enjoy it. I think that, yeah, it definitely, I mean, again, I say this every time I'm on the show, I'm sure, but all of Star Wars is nonsense. And it's important to just be okay with that. All of this idea of a space environment is silly, right? In the same way that they have asteroid fields here, and it's that's not what asteroid fields are like even.
Right.
They're gazillions of miles apart. Don't worry about it. So this idea that there's this dense thing and all these planet-sized icebergs crashing into each other and you have to fly through it a certain way. It's I don't know. I don't believe that's real, but in the version of reality that Star Wars takes place in, where flying through space is like flying around the world and a planet is like a city, sure, that all works.
Right. Yeah. But what point of order? It's not icebergs; they're Carbonbergs.
I'm sorry. You're right.
Carbonbergs, the size of planets smashing into each other.
Now a Carbonberg is like an iceberg, but it's made out of carbon.
Yeah.
Why is it a berg instead of just a rock?
Right. Well, because it's bigger than a rock. Right. Because
so if you're bigger than a rock, a rock the size of a planet, we often call planets, but I guess there are other things that are defining them.
But if it's just pure carbon, it's like a big chunk of ice. You wouldn't call it an island, right?
No, because it's not land; it's ice. But
right,
carbon is a rock.
Got you.
Oh. I like Carbonbergs because it also makes me go like Millennium Falcon,
yes.
So think about it. It's the Carbonbergs, it's like the upstairs neighbors or something like that. Okay, yeah. Speaking of not pleasing Neil deGrasse Tyson, the whole thing, like Carbonbergs are pointed out because Kira's like, hey, what's that sound? And it's like,
right.
I mean, maybe sure. There's a bunch of gas and stuff around, so maybe it's enough to conduct sound waves, but we're in space. And she's like, hey, what's that sound? It's like, it's the Carbonbergs. They just got a new. The daughter's taking tap lessons.
Maybe the galaxy that Star Wars takes place in has atmosphere in the entire galaxy.
Everywhere.
Yeah, the entire thing is atmosphere.
You could just go out and you could go for a walk, just like I said earlier. You could just walk around in space.
Maybe. We don't know.
Because there's atmosphere.
I mean, here's what we know. Things explode and we hear it. So sound needs a medium. So therefore we have proven there is atmosphere in this galaxy.
There you
Period.
go.
It's just a fact.
Science.
It is science.
It's funny because I recently read a quote from George Lucas. I don't know the exact, I'm not going to go into the exact things of it, but basically he was saying that when he was doing Star Wars, he was saying 2001 was the best science fiction movie that was ever made. He didn't want to try to make that kind of science fiction movie. He wanted to make like a 1930s science fiction movie when it was a lot more fantasy based and not, he's like, I knew that people were going to get mad that there was sound in space, but that's not the kind of science fiction movie I'm doing. So, I love the whole, I agree with you, Pete. I feel like they should have picked. You can either have meeting Chewbacca or the Kessel Run, or getting the Falcon. Not everything that happens to Han Solo has to happen in one weekend, setting. So, but the Kessel Run looks cool. It's unlike anything we've ever seen in Star Wars before. This kind of gaseous. So I really like that, and it looks. I want them to make those things on Disney Plus where it's like Tatooine, where you're just flying over Tatooine.
Biomes.
Yeah, I would love to just have a 15-minute thing of the Falcon just flying through gaseous anomalies or
just you. It's like you're like POV the Kessel Run.
No, but
you approach.
There's nothing Star Warsy about it. If it's just then I'm just looking at a screensaver. Like there has to be a Star Wars ship in it for it to work. Like
you are the Star Wars ship.
Be the Star Wars that you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, I love one of my favorite parts this is one of the first times also we really see the Falcon just kind of flying around. We just saw it take off. We didn't really get to see a lot of it, so we get to hear that awesome Falcon. I love that high-pitched whistle that's in the, it's almost like a in the overall motor sound. Love that Falcon sound.
And Falcon goes, ah!
Yeah. You're thinking of Akadezi Maelstrom. That's who you're thinking of.
I'm assuming in your travels that you have not met anyone who has seen this movie before they've seen any of the original films, right?
No,
because I do like thinking about that person and how they are introduced to Star Wars through this and are just like, this is great, and then for the rest of the original movies, they're just going, oh, that's a little nod to my movie. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, there we go. There we go. That's my classic.
And they're all mad. They're all mad because Harrison Ford, he's so wrong to play Han Solo. It's just like... Plus, they never explain how he got his scar. Like, what's the deal with this guy?
Well, he got a scar. There was he fell in a train car and then whipped himself, right? Isn't that what it was?
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a dream he had. That was a dream
on Corellia.
Why does it have to be space snakes? So also,
Eels.
I like
Fleet
the
eels.
fact that and I feel like it's something I'm going to try to incorporate in my real life is that Lando announces where they are to him, to L3, who presumably knows where they are, but he has to
Right. She
plotted the course.
Maelstrom. He has to say, he still has to say it out loud so that you know. I'm gonna do that every time I go to the grocery store. I'm like Fred Meyer, or whatever.
Approaching the grocery store, like when you pull into the parking lot.
L3. I'm a big droid fan.
This is your first L3 minute.
And it's my only moment with Lando as well. But yeah, I love L3. I love her design. It's kind of a design you did.
Thank you. I'm glad someone from with a connection to the Disney Corporation recognizes that, and I'll be asking you to testify in my.
This will be entered into evidence.
But yeah, like I love that she's an astromech droid turned into a protocol droid. I think that's super fun.
Yeah.
I can't believe the direction they went with her personality.
We'll get into that tomorrow. We'll get into that one a lot more tomorrow.
No, I mean the part of it that's in today. I'm not talking about that part. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I'm talking
about her social
rights.
Agenda.
Yes.
Well,
because it is a thing that it's one of those things that we all joked about, right? That we're all like, is there a reason that like our droids people, like, because they don't treat them like people an awful lot of the time. And so to like have a droid actually come out and say, no, we are a downtrodden people in the Star Wars films. It's like, oh, to actually put that text out there is to make it all pretty dark.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I mean, again, it's fun. It's fun and funny. Although then it also is like, is it making fun of rights?
That's my problem.
Yeah.
Because I don't
played for laughs, but then also kind of serious. Like it's a serious. I mean, it's a serious issue in the sense of like we have a lot of serious problems in the world right now, and always there have been more serious things to worry about. But it is it's not really a joke on the surface, but then it's played for laughs. Like it should be. It's the thing that she's concerned about, and when it's easy to draw a quick parallel to other.
Social movements,
real world things, and so it seems like it's either poking fun at that, or just like it's like taking a semi-serious thing or taking a serious thing and then adapting it to this and then playing it for laughs. And that's what I don't like. I like the idea of it, and I like the chaos that ensues when it comes to a fruition later. But like here, this is like my note. One of my main notes for this minute was just like that really bothers me that it's like. It's like, oh, can I get you anything? Equal rights? Har, har. Like, and it's like, and that's not a joke. Like, that's what she wants. And,
I mean, like, it is a joke in the sense that I can imagine a version of a movie where instead of a droid saying that, it is a person of an oppressed,
right.
And the joke is, this isn't what you mean when you ask if I want something, but it is something that I don't have, and that's a joke. So it is a joke either way, but there is another layer to the joke of, but you're not even a person. Like, I feel the same way about, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Harry Potter, but there is a similar thing in Harry Potter with the house elves. Yes.
Yeah.
That Hermione is the only character who cares about the idea of like freeing the house elves from their servitude. But like, then there's this weird stuff about, but the house elves like it. Like they enjoy it. Like if you set them free, they're unhappy with that idea. So like, they just have to do everything for us for all time, forever. The end. Plot over.
Right.
And it's like, what? I'm very uncomfortable with that being the end of that plot, but that's the end of that plot. Like in fact, not only that's the end of that plot of her wanting to free them, but like it's not the end of the plot in the sense that then later in the series, like Harry like gets one of them to like him by like not treating him poorly. He treats him well, but like by treating him as like letting him be his servant.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, and it's like, no, this is weird. This is weird and gross, but it's similar to this, but I didn't have as negative a reaction to this, partially because I don't know, she is a much more fun character and a more I don't know, active character making decisions for herself as well.
That's the crossover that we need. It's L3 and Dobby having space adventures.
That's great. I'm in. I'm in. Well, I mean, L3 is in a lot of the movies already, right? Like L3 is in.
Oh yeah, technically.
Yeah,
We see
silent the way she was meant to be.
Oh,
The fact that they made her part of the ship, I think, is one of the worst parts of it because she's basically a prisoner now.
no,
and
it's
the whole
the
thing is
exact opposite of what she wanted. Absolutely.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
So everyone's like, "Oh, she's part of the ship now, working
I mean-
for us forever."
Right. Now we're going to
Like-
think like even less of your sentience. Now we're not going to even acknowledge that you're a separate entity
Yeah.
from the ship.
I mean, that's the thing, is that at the end of the day, I think that is the judgment that it makes on this, is that it goes, yeah, we know you guys make jokes about our droids sentient and free, but the answer is no. The answer is just no. Like,
yeah.
R2D2's cute, C-3PO is funny, but they're not people.
I
I think that's what the movies think.
I will push the discomfort even more here.
Oh, boy.
We know Donald Glover has a sense of U.S. history. You know what I mean? He did that video where he was basically, you know, and so here we have an African-American person talking about owning this robot and treating it, oh, I'm going to have his memory, I'm going to have her memory erased and all that stuff. So that to me adds another layer of weirdness to it.
Yeah.
Like, so very, very peculiar situation. Let's put it that way.
It's very strange.
Right.
Yeah.
It was, like I said, it was a weird choice. I mean, again, it mostly plays. I guess the question is, will it play in 20 years? And who knows? Like, because it seems like it's definitely the kind of thing that, I mean, I don't mean because we'll have AI and everyone will, that's not what I'm saying. I meant just like, yeah, it's the kind of thing where it's like, well, we were comfortable with jokes like that back then, but are we going to be comfortable with jokes back then? Like,
it'll seem quaint. It'll seem like the suffragettes in Mary Poppins. It'll just be like, oh yeah, that's the, like it'll be. It's like, oh, remember when people had to fight for things like that? We're so much better now. When it's played for.
Well, I hope that's true. That's true.
I was imagining that it's like 25 years, we'll say 30 years from now, and I'm in my I'm in an old age home and I'm being taken care of by a robot, and like we put on Solo, and then that scene comes on, and the robot's like, "What's so funny about that? I don't understand. Why was everyone laughing at that scene?" I'm like, "Oh."
You're like, ha ha ha, ha, pointing at
exactly. Yeah. Finish cleaning my feet before you ask me questions. I'll lighten things up a bit here. Go ahead.
Scenario that you just mentioned. There's a neat little small sci-fi movie called Robot and Frank, which is a good
that's
one.
with Frank Langella's in that, right?
Is it right? Yeah, is it Frank? Yeah,
that sounds right. Yeah, I think
Robot and Frank. I know. I'm like, wait, it was Frank Langella and a robot, but Cyclops is also in it. There, I'll tie it back into Marvel Comics. But yes, it's an old person getting taken care of by a robot. So there you go. That's the future that we have to look forward to.
So I will lighten things up. One thing I learned from the I can't plug the official guide because I learned it from Wikipedia. The Pike, we know that the Kessel mine is being run by the Pike Syndicate, who we saw a lot more in Book of Boba Fett and so on. But I learned that the Pike base of operations, I don't know if it's their homeworld or not, but it's listed as their base of operations. Obadiah is the name of their planet. I don't know why that made me laugh. Obadiah. That has to be a is that a Marvel crossover? What's the Obadiah?
I
like
don't
Obadiah
think so.
Stane. So that's what I was going
They
for.
They didn't make up. I mean, that's a real name.
But it's just weird that they would name a planet Obadiah. I guess it's like Mon Calamari or any of these other dumb things that
I'm looking at. Obadiah.
Why are they called pikes? Because they look like fish. But yeah, okay.
That is why.
I know in real life, sure.
I was trying to figure out. I'm like, isn't Obadiah Pike somebody? But no, it's just it's not.
I think
Obadiah
we saw.
Pike sounds like a prospector.
I think we saw a bunch of them in Clone Wars as well. I think that we maybe even went to Kessel again, or to thereabouts anyway. Because there was more spice heisting.
Spicing and heisting.
Spicing. So why? Okay, here's a question about the Kessel Run situation. Why can't you just fly? I know why you can't fly not through the route, but why can't you just I keep wanting to say hyperdrive, and that's not the word.
Light speed?
Yeah, why can't you just jump right to the planet?
I think
Because you have to go through all that cloud stuff. You can't.
But that's if you're flying normal. But when you're going through
But
hyperspace,
you can't go. I don't think you can go through physical objects when you're in hyperspace because you can
define
bounce too close to
physical
a star
objects.
or.
Because you can't. You're right. Like I think you can't go through like a planet, but you can go through air molecules, right? Like we've seen that. Okay, so I guess maybe these Carbonbergs are too dense though, and you'll hit those.
Carbonbergs.
Yeah, it's just.
And it's
run right
it's
into
3
one.
dimensions because you
And
can't
it's
go this way
swirling.
to it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can't go. You can't come over the top and go. I'm just gonna go. Boop. There we go.
I
Kessel.
Right
guess,
into the
I guess
donut
it's
hole.
in the middle of this big cloud, and there's only
guess
one
so.
tunnel that goes through. I guess.
And I guess there's no sunlight on this world, or is the sun also in the middle of it?
I think there's a whole system
the
inside,
whole
right? Or does
system
it just,
is inside. Okay.
the whole system is
one
one
big-
but doesn't it get or unless it gets like ambient glowing light from the cloud, it downloads it from the cloud. It's sunlight.
Send in the clouds.
Don't bother. They're here. Yeah. Well. So coming into this, at the start of this, which is theoretically where Obadiah is, right? It's at the beginning. It's the starting point, basically, for this.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. It's not in the middle.
No. Kessel's in the middle. Obadiah is on the outside. Like it's like a starting point. It's like near where the gate is,
It's like the
where the starting
checkpoint
line.
Charlie to get to start the Kessel run.
Right.
I see.
No, it's not icy. It's carbon.
Oh,
But they're so we're starting in and we go in and we get this great exactly what you were just talking about, the fantastic shot of the Falcon, but from a distance, and it's just this scale of this tiny Falcon with the little lights and the lights going through the tunnel and this more shots with scale like that are what we need. Remember, we talked about that a little bit when they were walking across the mountains on Vandor, like big long shots with scale is something that we don't usually get a ton of in Star Wars. But
'Cause back in the day, you had
especially
to
with
fake
ships, I get to see it here. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we get like the sandcrawler maybe on the dune. We get that, but it's not. We get C-3PO in the foreground, pretty much with that. We don't. We don't get. I'm trying to think of examples with long shots for scale, and I like that.
Let's see. Is there on Hoth a flyover?
Kind of, but it's like in motion. It's like we're going to something. I feel like my very specific tastes with the Vandor one and this one, it's like a fairly still shot, and you just see the things happening from a distance. You're not zooming into it. You're not kind of walking. You're not flying around it. You're just like, here's something that's going on. Boop, little tiny Falcon going across the thing.
It's pretty cool.
I remember one. There was a shot in The Last Jedi where you saw their little ship, the Radis, I guess it is. The Radis is, and because I remember it reminded me of that shot in I don't remember what's happening in the shot, but I remember it reminded me of that shot in Titanic where you see the Titanic on the water from really far away, and then you see this tiny little flare go up, and emphasizing how they are in the middle of nowhere. And there was a shot in The Last Jedi that reminded me of that because you just saw this tiny little ship in this vast space, but I don't remember what was going on. So, but yeah, it was striking. It was so striking I can't even remember the details. It was so striking it reminded me completely of another movie that I remembered better. So, anything else for minute number 69?
I did. Let's see. Equal rights, the draft scale, Carbonbergs, the size of planets.
This is the last time we see Lando. So, did you have any thoughts? Any other thoughts on Donald Glover, Jordan? Did you like him?
Fun and charming. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I liked him before this from Community and stuff, and I like him now. Apparently, Ludwig Göransson, who does the Mandalorian music, I know not the music for this, but he did the music for Community, and I don't know if you know, he wrote the music for This Is America.
Well, there you go. Look at that. Which is the video that you were just talking about.
Oh, yeah. right. Yeah. Got it.
The Childish Gambino song. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Pretty
it all
random.
comes together.
Yeah. So
Star Wars.
Do you think did Donald Glover go, guys, I know a guy who does music.
Right.
Well, we know Clint Howard got Ron Howard the job, so anything's possible in this crazy movie. So
wait, really?
Well, in our version,
oh,
they They fired Lord Miller, and then they were like, "Who are we going to get another director?" And then Clint Howard was like, "I know just the guy who can do it," because he was right there.
He was already in the movie as the guy who owns the droids.
Yeah,
he was really?
Is
that true?
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that can't be true.
No, he played Han Solo in that version, so they had to give him a little bit of a.
Yeah. That's a bummer.
That would have been great, actually, if they did a Han Solo movie and it was totally a different person who was pretending to be Han Solo the whole time.
Totally.
And it was Clint Howard trying to, trick people into thinking he was Han Solo. And then Harrison Ford shows up at the end. And he's like,
that sounds like a really fun idea for a movie.
Yeah.
Let's make it.
Because everybody would complain about it. Everybody why is this guy playing Han Solo? And then Harrison Ford shows up at the end.
And then by the end, they'd be like, no one else can play Han Solo except for Clint Howard. He would totally steal it from Harrison Ford.
Right.
Well, I guess that'll wrap up minute number 69. And we asked Jordan this question yesterday, but dear listeners, how do you feel about Woody Harrelson? What are some of your favorite Woody Harrelson roles? Do you think of him mostly from Cheers, or do you think of him as a movie star? Call 8-Day Greedo, our hotline. Let us know your opinion on Woody Harrelson. If you have a funny Woody Harrelson story, keep it short. We don't have all day to listen. Yeah. Pretend it's like a TV Guide entry. Everyone knows TV Guide. That's still a thing, right?
Sure.
No.
But give us the summary of your
blurb. Blurb it for us.
Yeah. Send us a
less
telegram.
time than it takes to land a spaceship in Star Wars.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. Pick a spaceship, time landing, and then try to get in it very quickly.
Another funny phone call.
Yes. 8-Day Greedo. Call our hotline. Maybe we'll get to use it on the show if it's funny enough. Maybe you'll make the cut. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow on another Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.